Hey, it's Jeremy here from Firehouse Labs with the StationOne version 0.21.0 release update video. Quite a number of changes and fixes in this release. Not so much any significant feature releases, unfortunately, but hopefully some stuff that makes the platform a little bit easier to use and derives a bit more value from some of the features that our users have been requesting. To start with, the first thing that everyone's probably going to notice is a slight change to our sidebar menu. So we found previously the brigade or unit menu was getting quite lengthy. So to combat that, we looked at the options that we had available to regroup some of those options that appeared under that unit menu. So we've split this up now into people and events, which contains, member appointments, duty crews and things like that. And now we've got station and assets, so vehicles, rooms, equipment, stock, all those kind of things. We have broken purchase orders out from under the stock menu as its own independent purchase order view. So they're now completely decoupled. And there is a purchase order report that's available here as well. So other than that, pretty much everything else in the menu remains as it is. Brigade settings is now just its own separate settings button right down the bottom as well. So keeping in line with some other sort of online platforms and things like that, made the decision to break that out and just put that down the bottom, probably one of the lesser used menu items in the platform. So that's the first notable change. Secondly, we've made some changes to, and I'm just going to call this one out as it's probably the only one that's got some potential to cause some breaking changes to existing data. But we have slightly modified the way in which we handle our vehicle endorsements, specifically relating to which vehicles a member can drive under which code. So you'll see here on this particular member, actually we'll go to maybe another one. We'll try Tim, see if that's set up. So you can see Tim has received a code 1, code 3 and four-wheel drive endorsement. So these are based on the training endorsement system. So obviously to receive code 3, code 1 and four-wheel drive, there is accompanying qualifications that must be met to reach those endorsements. So that section is largely unchanged. What happened prior to this is that if you endorsed a member to drive a vehicle, they would get that vehicle endorsement at their highest code. So in this case, Tim has an endorsement as a code 1 driver. So if we endorse Tim on any vehicles within our unit, he would receive a code 1 endorsement for all of those vehicles. What we've now done is also added an additional layer, which is an endorsement code per vehicle endorsement. So you can see here on the Long Hill FCV and the Long Hill tanker, Tim has a code 1 endorsement for both of those particular appliances. So this comes in where members may have a heavy vehicle license but not yet be operational to drive under code. So we also now have the option to mark a member as a non-operational driver. That also allows them to log their drives, which previously they were blocked from unless it was a training drive. So if we just jump into particularly maybe one of these other members here. So find one, see if we can find one that doesn't have, here we go. So this member has no vehicle endorsements or qualifications, and they have no vehicle endorsements. So we can now endorse this person to drive the vehicle non-operationally. So we can pop that in and you'll see that they just get a Long Hill FCV with no code relevant to it. Obviously now if we tried to endorse this member and upgrade that endorsement to a code 3, we're going to get an error because they don't hold the code 3 driver endorsement. So obviously to do that we need to award them a qualification. In this case it would be in safe driving. So we'll mark that as completed yesterday. And likewise, we can now go ahead and add an endorsement for them as a code 3 driver. And we'll also add that in yesterday. So now this member holds a qualification and an endorsement as a code 3 driver. which means you can now see that this has upgraded itself to a code 3 because we had previously tried to implement that code change without the qualification. And likewise, the same thing will occur if we try and upgrade them to a code 1 driver. So they get blocked on that particular appointment there. So this is now translated through into our vehicles. So if we come through and look at our endorsed driver list, we can see basically Chris Adams here he's just endorsed to drive the FCV, sorry, in this case, non-operationally, and then we can see our code 3 and our code 1 endorsed drivers who have been given an explicit code endorsement on that particular vehicle. So we'll ensure obviously this is documented as well in our documentation, but hopefully this helps units where we're progressing drivers through a driver education program, and they're coming online in various stages of being able to drive those vehicles. We can now capture that data and replicate that correctly, particularly splitting things like supports or FCVs where there may be a code 1 endorsement to drive a car, and there may only be a code 3 or a non-operational endorsement on a heavy vehicle. So that change has now gone into the platform. Moving on from that, we have also made a change to the station portal. We'll just drop this into a mobile view. So you'll see now there's a little icon up the top left here. And this is basically the profile menu where the user has either validated or selected their name. So from this menu, bottom sheet at the moment, now we can check in. So very similar to how we can check in on the station kiosk. So if there were active events or training sessions, they would be able to check in for them. Otherwise, they can check in for other activities in here as well. So we've added basically the kiosk check-in functionality into this menu. Likewise, we've also got My PPC, so we've moved that into here from that was previously just down here in the bottom of this section. So we've moved that into that profile section, and you can also switch the user out to if you needed to, and dump that user config out of the station portal app. So that's all available there. If the user's not validated or hasn't selected their name, this just comes up and says, please select your name to continue. But that felt like the cleanest way without cluttering up this main station portal interface to provide that check-in functionality, aligning with what we already have in the station kiosk. So that's all in. We've made a change into our inspections, so particularly around our admin approval notification system. So if you come in here, we've got the option to require admin approval before creating actions. If we open this out now, you can see that we get some extra options. So we can now set this to particular appointments or individual users. It is notifying us here that this is only applicable to those users that have access to edit inspections. So that's why we're only returning a shorter list here. But you can basically now cut down some of that noise. It does say if nothing's configured here, it will fall back to all of your unit administrators for that admin approval notification, but you can now specify that out. So if you've got someone who looks after vehicles or equipment and things like that, you can basically specify that out to those particular members to deal with those certain things. Into our equipment now, we have just added a couple of extra things here. So you can see we're now getting a brigade-owned flag come back, or an organisation-owned flag come back. This was just an additional overlay on the equipment to assist units in understanding what equipment may have been issued with the vehicle versus what equipment the brigade has actually purchased and put on that vehicle themselves. So if we edit the equipment now, we've got a couple of extra options here. So we've got permanent vehicle equipment. So this is something that actually belongs to the vehicle and would move with the vehicle if it were to move units. And likewise, we've got organisational owned equipment as well. So if this is something that has been purchased and issued, gas detectors and things like that, where the unit has not purchased them, we can flag that in here as well, and we can surface that back through our equipment reporting. So just something to add a little bit more clarity into that equipment and the subsequent reporting that comes out of that equipment, as I said. So we've got ownership categories and things like that that now appear in this equipment report that's here. Over to our assets now. So we can also allocate an asset to a vehicle, which previously wasn't the case. So you can see at the moment we've got allocate to a member, and we can also put the location of that particular asset. If we come into edit now, we can actually also specify that this particular asset is on a vehicle. In the event that you change that to a vehicle from a room, then basically the ability to allocate that asset to a member disappears. So you can see in this particular case, this quick cut has been allocated to a vehicle, and it's also mirrored as a piece of equipment. So we can see that it's linked to this quick cut here, but you can also see that the allocate to member section is missing from here now, because if we've allocated that to a vehicle, we obviously can't allocate that to a member as well. So we've added that little change in there. And we also obviously draw that back into our reporting as well. So there's some reporting information that's here, so we can get by room, by vehicle, etc. And then obviously, you know, the existing reports that were already there as part of the assets system. We've made a change to our training sessions, or added some additional functionality to our training sessions now. So if we just create a training session just to have a look, we've got a new checkbox here for catered session. So if you have updated your members' records with any dietary or allergy requirements, this will now surface if you check this box into the training session, and likewise for events as well. Second to that, we've also changed the way that we do our invite notification system. So you can see this now says, who is this training for? This was previously just specifically tied to the invite system. So who is this training for? And we can now do all brigade members, selected members, custom groups, or a duty crew as well can be surfaced here. So basically we can go, you know, and invite specific people to this training session. And then separate to that, we can now set our email notification. So we can send it now, we can schedule it for later, or we're not going to send that. We're not going to send that training at all. That email notification at all. So we've split this out now to have dual function, to give you a bit more flexibility in the way that you invite and manage notifications with regards to those particular training sessions. As I said, so you can see this training session here is flagged as catered. So we have checked that box, and we've also got a flag coming up for one dietary. So if we click into here, we can see the catering section is now appearing, and we can see that Chris Adams has indicated that he has an allergy to dairy, and he has a vegetarian dietary requirement. So just something to help join some of those pieces of information together, that if you are organising an event or a training session, and you do have your members' dietary requirements captured into the platform, that we're going to surface those back for you. So you can quickly, you know, without having to do the ring around or send an email out, you can quickly grab that information straight out of that particular training session or event to get that information as required. As I said, all of these changes that we've made to the training session also replicate themselves into the event system as well. That about wraps it up for this release, and we'll get straight into getting the next release out, which does indeed have some larger feature blocks available in it, coming into the version 2.2 release in about a week's time. So until then, thank you, and keep sending the feedback through. It's all very much appreciated.